Hello, I'm back at the park. Have some boys in the back, probably middle school, playing. Had some dogs barking because somebody walked the dog, but like I said, it's a quiet park. And I don't know what I want to title this video, but I think I need to speak on it because I think a lot of people might understand what's happening, because it's what we call an insidious form of wealth transfer that this government was never really supposed to be doing. And I want to start by talking about two particular stories. One is mine when years ago I had a tutoring business, and I had to determine what to charge based on what I felt people could pay. Because if I charged too much, even though people might want my services, they couldn't afford it, or thought, that's too much money and I wouldn't make anything. So I had to balance the pay of what I thought people could afford or were willing to pay to cover my expenses for rent and whatever else I had. And the second one is years ago I was at subbing an auto shop class. There's a specialized school here in the district, and it has an auto shop program, and kids from other high schools will often go there in the afternoon. But you have kids that go to that school that will do that in the mornings. And oftentimes when I'm in this class, I really just, here's a book, you're reading this chapter, the questions at the end, that's what you're working on. And listen to your music, we'll chill out for an hour, and then, turn in your paper or whatever I was supposed to do. So it's really not much for me to do there in that case. And the classroom had two classrooms, and they're separated by a counter. And so I was talking to the other teacher, and this other teacher was talking to a student, asking about going to college. And the young man said, I'm not going to college. The teacher said, why? Why don't you go to college? He says, I don't need to go to college. He goes, well, why not? The kid said, look, I want to work on cars, okay? My aunt and uncle have a shop, and they told me when I graduate and get my certifications, I have a job, being a mechanic. What do I need to go to college for? And I told this young man, I go, young man, do yourself a favor. I said, in the first few years of being a mechanic, go to junior college, take a year of accounting and a year of economics so you understand how money works and no one can trick you out of it. And that's advice I give to anybody, regardless of what career they go into, so they understand how to eventually learn how to invest their own money. So they can take investment courses through American Association of Individual Investors and so on. They can learn based on that information that they get. And the kid looked at me like, okay, you're the first adult that told me anything that made sense. And so you have a lot of people such as this young man. It's going to be mechanics. They work plumbers, electricians, truck drivers. They work the electrical lines to make sure the power goes in the house, okay? Some police officers, firefighters that do very important work in society, but they don't necessarily have a college degree, okay? They have to go get some specialized training in it for sure, but the need for a bachelor's degree from a university is not a requirement. And there's this movement I see online a lot of times to discount people that don't have a college degree. Well, people that do this, they don't have a college degree. So obviously, they treat them as they're ignorant and losers. And that is far from the case. But what you're going to do is, with this student debt problem that we have, is going to ask these people, the plumbers, the electricians, the line workers, the truck drivers, okay, that they're going to have to pay for the folly of somebody majoring in something that they can't pay back. An example was a young lady who majored in political science, and so she wanted to go collect signatures for petitions. And she didn't need a college degree for that. And so the money she would make doing that would not pay back the college degree. So why is it the burden go on these blue collar tradesmen and tradeswomen maybe to pay for the mistake of this woman? And we understand how the debt problem came about is Congress and other parts of the government years ago decided that student loans will be the sole province of the federal government. And because of that, and we got the Constitution here, and in Article 2, Section 8, it talks about the powers that Congress has. And one of them is to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, which is, the immigration, and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. So when one goes through bankruptcy court, it's a federal issue, not a state issue. The states have nothing to do with bankruptcy. It's a federal issue. And so Congress can decide that, okay, bankruptcies, you can discharge debt by bankruptcies except in the case of a federal student loan. And that being the case, if you have a student majoring in something crazy like gender studies, okay, that cannot make the money back, a bank would normally not loan the money to major in that. It's a big risk because this student I can't get a job to pay this back, I'm going bankrupt. And so the universities would have a governor on what they could charge in tuition because they knew that the banks would not cover these loans, so they wouldn't get students. But since the federal government's doing that, and the federal government's controlling the bankruptcy laws that the students can't, the universities have an incentive to jack up the price as much as possible. And so it gets bloated. They have a bunch of administrators, they have all these different degrees that really don't provide any value, okay? To make a point, think of a thought process, and call it a thought experiment, okay? If we were to get rid of the truck drivers, the line workers, the plumbers, the electricians, the mechanics, okay, and all these people, this society would come to a standstill. But if we got rid of all the gender studies people, the professors that teach gender studies, no one would probably notice. And it might even be better. So we have, in effect, a wealth transfer not from these tradespeople to these students, but a tradespeople to these professors in these weird majors that really provide questionable value to society. And the only reason that is because the political class is doing it. If you absent the political class participation in the student loan program, this problem wouldn't exist. And so we ask ourselves, is it moral to take money from decent workers, hard workers, that applied themselves in fields, did the right thing, to give to a university that overcharged and was irresponsible and bloating up its faculty and administration? And it will continue because Congress has not done anything to address the fact that tuition is high. It can go to universities and say, listen, you got to cut your tuition by 50%, otherwise we're not going to let you have federal loans. But it never has done that. Okay? Or it can say, listen, you have these students here with these federal loans, you gave them a questionable product, okay? Give them a refund. We can have a tenured professor tax. We can have an endowment tax. We can put the tax burden on these universities instead of on the tradesmen, okay, the blue-collar workers that didn't cause the problem in the first place. And so this becomes a wealth transfer forcibly by the government from hardworking people to universities and professors that provide questionable value. I think there's something wrong with that. And it's only because the political class allowed it to happen. It favors one group of people, these professors and college administrators, over another, the hardworking blue-collar people, and that was never supposed to happen by the political class in this government. Something to think about. Thank you.